Kim?
Sorry, my mute button was like buried. Sorry. I might be able to stay a few extra minutes today.
Oh, good, good. Okay, I just wanted to
So
make
then,
sure
Kim-
so we can get you in on the discussion.
We are live, everyone, and the vice mayor is here. Let me just.
Oh, great. Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the pre-agenda meeting of September 14th?
14th.
Thank you. Okay, great. Kim, since you have to leave early, I want to ask, is there something that,
I need to call the roll.
oh, can't you see we're here? Go ahead.
Yeah, I know, but to be official, Mayor Betty Rush,
Here.
Vice Mayor Christopher McVoy,
Here.
Commissioner Sarah Maliga.
Present.
Oh, wow, you're in your car.
I'm not in my car.
Kimberly Stokes.
I'm not in
Here.
my car today.
Chris is
Commissioner
in his
Ronaldo
car.
Diaz.
Oh,
Here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the meeting. Kim, since you have to leave early, did you have something that you wanted to particularly talk about?
I know we had talked about discussing the meeting schedule and everything for redistricting at today's meeting. So I didn't, I want to make sure if Carmen wants to get all of us in a room to like just iron that out, like that we have time for that. And the other thing that I thought was more time sensitive was I did not see anything on this. I know we have a loaded agenda once again coming up this Tuesday, but I didn't see the apprenticeship program on it. And I was under the impression that that was time sensitive because the certification was about to expire. So I just wanted to ask about that.
Great
That's going to
question.
be an addition.
That's right.
I still have some items
I-
that will be coming out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
we're finalizing information. I just received some yesterday. I'm scrutinizing that, making sure I get all my questions out. But yes, it's going to be an addition to, as we're still gathering information to make sure you have all the information you need to make a decision.
Okay,
That's great.
easy answer then. Good.
Easy answer.
But that should
Well-
be out. Hopefully we'll get that out today, by the end of the day.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
My goal.
How many apprentices do we get, or can we take, or how does that work?
Well, it depends on how much budget we have, but we generally average around 4. So it could range from 3 to 4, depending on the budget.
In different departments?
Now, this will be for electric utilities, and this will be for the lineman.
For the what?
Lineman position.
Linemen, okay. I met an apprentice, a young woman who we had as an apprentice, and she drove me over when we had that ribbon cutting, and she now is employed by us, and she was delightful. It
Oh,
made,
yeah.
I mean, getting your foot in the door is just such a great, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and this is
That's
just
right.
kind of a
And
flip side
that's
of
why
it,
we
so-
should change it. It's line worker. So,
Yes, we should. Line person.
I requested that back when we went through the union negotiations. And Lauren Sladen said that on the next round of union negotiations, they would make sure that that was the proper language.
Great.
Person.
Okay, anything else,
Okay.
Kim?
No, that I just worried about those agenda items, which is fine. And then whatever we need to talk about for redistricting.
okay, I do have an update. So whenever you're ready.
Well, let's do that.
Okay, so Melissa and I spoke with Mr. Steve, and I hope I pronounced his last name right, or Dr. Steve Barossa, yesterday evening, and trying to schedule out the meetings for the process. So if you're ready, we did create a timeline for the redistricting process, and we ran these dates to Dr. Barossa, and he is going to verify those dates with the team to make sure that they can accommodate our schedule. So this is what we propose for the commission meetings where the FAU representatives present the 3 options, map options. That will take place at our October 6th meeting. And so we're putting these on our meetings
October
because
6th is a Thursday.
yes. So we are not having our meeting on October 4th due to the holiday. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? Just wanna make
Yes,
sure.
it's Kol Nidra. October 4th is Kol
Yes.
Nidra. for
Yes,
Saturday, Yom
so
Kippur.
our meeting will be held on October 6th rather than October 4th. So on October 6th, we'll have the presentation of the three map options presented to the commission. Following that, should all go well at that meeting, we will then schedule 2 public input meetings in the community. And that is proposed for, and based on our conversation the other day, we know that you want 2 meetings. And so my understanding, you want 1 meeting during the weekday and 1 on the weekend, so we can accommodate schedules of our citizens. So the first meeting would be Thursday, October 13th. And the second meeting would be Saturday, October 15th. So the October 13th meeting will be in the evening, and based on the FAU representatives' experience in holding these type of meetings, they say that it's really productive to have the meeting for an hour and a half. So it'll be from 6 to 7:30 on Thursday, and then on Saturday it'll be 10 to 11:30 a.m.
And where?
That we have not determined yet.
Carmen, can I go back? You said that we don't have office on Thursday, October 4th.
Correct.
That's
And-
that's right.
We still, so are we still doing the water naming, the naming water tower ceremony? Because we haven't
Yes.
saved the date, so we're still gonna have that even though we're closed?
I have no idea.
No, we're
what you're
not
talking about.
closed. We're not closed. We're
Just don't
just
have a
not
meeting.
having a commission meeting.
What water naming, what?
Naming the water treatment plant for Joanne Golden?
Yes, that's scheduled for October 4th.
Oh, I did not know about that. Okay. Good.
Okay, so we have the 2 public input meetings, October 13th and 15th, as well as during that time, we'll have, we will receive online comments. We'll post maps online, make sure we make all the information public for the residents to respond and review. And then we will have the next meeting with the commission would be November 15th. And at that time, you will review the 3 map option, review the information from the public input meetings, and then that will also be our first reading of the ordinance. That'll be November 15th, and then December 6th would be the second reading of the ordinance,
And that's ordered placing it on the,
regular meeting agendas.
okay, yeah, I didn't know about that thing about Joanne. That's great. You know, I'm responsible for bringing Joanne to Lake Worth.
Wow.
I have it as a
Okay.
saved date on my calendar.
Yeah, and what day is that? October what?
Four.
October 4th at what time?
Or
October 4th at 4?
10-4-4.
Okay, a lot of 4s in that one. Okay, great, thank you.
So those are the proposed dates. Like I said, I'm waiting on confirmation from the FAU representatives. He's checking with the full team to make sure that it lines up. He felt that those were good dates from his initial review, but he will confirm that by the end of the week.
Great. Commissioner Diaz, since we started in District 3, let's go to 4.
Sure, I have 2 things. The first one is fairly easy. I had a conversation with a business owner who probably doesn't really want to be identified, but essentially we have the 2 moratoriums, one on tattoo shops, one on dispensaries, and at least on the tattoo shops, I believe, or it's our understanding that the moratorium is written to the location. So if, so basically theoretically, if this business wanted to move locations, they would lose that, that permission, if you will, and they would be affected by the moratorium. And even though they don't want to move, it matters because essentially the landlord of the property knows that. And so the result is they're paying substantially higher rental rate than their neighbors, essentially.
Okay, is the moratorium that the moratorium is that we can't have new ones? We stop new
Right.
ones? Is that Okay,
Right.
but if
And
this
we're-
would, if it's not a new one,
May I interject? We don't have a moratorium on either one of those.
right, I had never heard of that.
It doesn't allow tattoo shops downtown, and we have a limit on the number of marijuana dispensaries as being 2.
Can it be a distance thing, will you?
Well, it could be, but we'd have to add it back to the permitted use table. But when a tattoo shop opened downtown, there was such an uproar that we put a moratorium on them downtown until we changed the permitted use table that does not allow them downtown anymore. But they're
Okay.
allowed on Dixie Highway, they're allowed on Mixed Use West, they're allowed other places.
Mhm.
So if they wanted to move downtown, like, I mean, if they wanted to move, they wouldn't be able to move within downtown.
On
Correct.
Lake Avenue, right?
Okay.
What
Yeah.
is the issue with having a tattoo parlor downtown? I mean, when you go to Key West, when you go to all sorts of places, there are tattoo piercing shops all over the place, wherever you want them.
You are a new commission and you could change policy if you wish.
I would
Yeah.
hate to see our Lake Avenue or Lucerne Avenue become Duval Street, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, there was an uproar. I remember when the first tattoo shops started coming in. It's not exactly the kind of business that folks think about, quaint Lake Worth. We do have one.
What was the concern? Do you remember, Mayor? Because there was a concern, but it was there. Were their fears realized? Is
I
I
think
guess.
that-
Well, they weren't because we put them more, apparently there was,
Yeah.
they limited it.
But
So
we
there,
have
I mean,
one
I would
there.
hate, frankly, personally, this is just me as Betty living in the city. I would not want to see our downtown be every other shop, a tattoo shop or a tattoo shop. Frank, I don't think that's the kind, I mean, hopefully other kinds of businesses are gonna come in. But
I believe if I recall, a lot of it was the fact that the hours that the tattoo parlors usually keep.
Yeah.
Had a lot to do with it. I mean, our bars are open too, but sometimes tattoo parlors, they stay open that late or can stay open even later.
so that people can get drunk and go get a tattoo.
And I believe there was a lot of uproar amongst the families who live around the downtown of safety and hours and that stuff. I mean, as a downtown business owner, I welcome business, I don't,
Yeah.
within the confines of our law, but listening to the residents, I believe that that's what the biggest concern was the hours and the kind of traffic that they believed, right? That I mean, I have 9 tattoos, but nobody can see them. So it's not like I'm against tattoo parlors, but I believe it was just that what if scenario, if they're open late, the bar scene, what kind of traffic that gonna bring to the downtown community.
So
Yeah.
like for all those fears, all the what if scenarios, we have a tattoo parlor there. Did any of those come true? Are we seeing extended? I'm not saying we need to open up, but we have one there.
Yeah,
I'm
one.
basically saying if they wanted to move 2 doors down, they wouldn't
don't
be able
think-
to.
I don't
because-
think, William, I don't mean to, William, I don't think that would be a concern because they are an established business, right? So if they wanted to move,
Yeah,
Correct me
they
if-
are considered now a legal non-conforming use, and we can't relocate a legal non-conforming use from one location to the other.
cannot, okay. Okay. Legal, okay, great.
Yeah.
Well,
So that's kind of the thing, right? And this person obviously they also mentioned the whole the example of South Beach was brought up. If you've ever been to South Beach, it's one right after the other, and there's like 100 shops. And I think the good thing about Lake Worth tattoo shops is, I don't know if many realize, but the artists that are here are pretty significant. I mean, they have like huge followings on social media. They're known to be some of the better artists probably in the state. But so I don't think they're interested. They're also not interested in having a shop on every corner because it brings down the quality, of course. But there's that concern of not being able to relocate within downtown, that it could be used against them when it comes to negotiating a lease, for example. So I guess we could talk about that more, but I guess I'm happy to hear there isn't a moratorium, because I do feel uncomfortable always when we talk about limiting businesses, especially businesses if they're successful. But like Commissioner Malega says, within within reason for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe if we want to reconsider, and I mean, our plate is so full right now, but
Yeah.
if this is something we want to revisit, would be like 1,000-foot distance waiver, that kind of thing, like we do with bars.
Mhm.
So I mean
Mayor,
that, yep.
Doing a review of the permitted use table, and we're hoping to have something for review by the advisory boards to get an opinion, I guess, or recommendation to all of you by the end of the year. And so we could include that on our list of things to look at.
Sure, good.
Cool.
And the
Okay.
distance waiver provisions and exceptions are already in the code. All we have to do that is add a provision that distance separation would apply to tattoo parlors. And you could possibly come up with some other uses that may apply, like we do that for microbreweries, establishments that sell alcohol, bars and nightclubs and that sort of thing.
I've gotten distance waivers for quite a few clients over the years.
Yes.
Okay,
Thanks.
the other part of my income that I gave up. Ronaldo, you had something else.
Yeah, and the other thing is we had talked about in the last meeting or last meetings about codifying our limits on written comments and having something written out in policy so that people know what to expect. And also, you know, I didn't really point it out in the meeting, but it protects us too, especially in regards to public hearings, is if we don't have an ordinance on the books, and Glenn might have a better answer or explanation of this, but if we don't have an ordinance on the books, right? Like, I'm pretty sure we have, you know, the 3 minutes and all that stuff, but whatever we don't have, especially for a public hearing, the deferral is to Constitution, which is all the time that's needed to present your case for, you know, the parties in the hearing. But basically, the bottom line is we need to have everything kind of like codified, I feel like, just so people know what to expect, and so that we protect ourselves from, you know, somebody saying, well, my comment wasn't read, so I wasn't given, you know, the same.
Well, it's not quite that. I mean, I get what you're saying, and we did talk about talking about this.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, judges in a court where that, if they are done hearing you, they're pretty finished and they get to rule. But that's
true.
What if we, I felt incredibly horrible for Melissa to read for 70.
It was nuts. Yeah.
What if we streamlined and did a for or against public comment record on through online portal? And then if you want us as a body to hear your comment, I mean, we get 1 million emails every week anyway.
Come to the meeting.
No, if submit your comment to all the commissioning body, right? Send an email with your detailed thoughts or concerns. Do a pro or, for or against, pro or con comment to Melissa that she can read into the record. Betty Resch is for this, end of discussion. And then we still keep open comment on the floor. So that way people know that we're reading it, we're getting it, we're hearing you. Melissa can go on the record for or against, but without putting all the details in. And then we still open floor concept, right? This way we're giving everybody access, but not wearing staff down, or, keeping staff at a meeting until midnight is absolutely absurd when our staff
fair
at 7:30 a.m. And, when Melissa had to read those, my heart was like, are you kidding me? I can't imagine reading constantly and being able to pronounce everyone's name correctly and not offend, right? But B, I think that it's important for us to hear public record and to hear from the community. I, for one, read every single email and respond, and then I put them in little envelopes. So when that issue comes back up, I can go to the envelope and reread the emails that I've gotten and kind of weigh out the concerns of the public. But I think that we need to come up with a better idea, and the pro and con or for or against, I think, is best on the electronic version.
That's not a bad idea, Chris. And Carmen, and then Carmen.
I hear some of the concerns of practicality. That said, I'm very concerned that we not treat people who make their comments electronically different than we treat people who come in person. That, to me, would be a discrimination against people who have kids, have a work schedule, have whatever that makes it not very easy for them to get there to a meeting in person. we still want to hear from them, and we want to hear from them, whatever our method is for hearing from people in person, we should make that same approach for the other. Another one
So
is,
you're okay with Melissa reading 150 comments?
there's a lot of things that I'm not okay with.
Well, that doesn't answer my question.
I think that the guiding principle is we want to be able to hear from our community. We'll want to know that their comments are treated equally, whether they come in person or they have to do them online.
What is wrong with people emailing us? I mean, that's still saying that we're hearing you. We're
We could
taking
hear it.
out of our day to read and to hear and to digest.
Because then we're gonna get accusations of like gatekeeping and, oh, my
What?
email, they never responded and blah, blah.
I do
Oh.
want to, if we're talking
Okay,
about.
wait, Carmen had
comparing-
her hand up. Carmen had her hand up first. So I'm going to go to her first and then you, Kim.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just wanted to mention that Melissa and I, City Clerk, we met yesterday to review our online system for comments. And we believe that is a wonderful mechanism for the comments to be submitted. And the detailed comments can be available for all to see, even if you wanted to go online to look at it, those who
I
attended
was
the
thinking
meeting.
scan them in,
commission-
just scan the cards in
Yes.
or
yeah.
however.
Yes, and we do need to make a few tweaks to it because we've received comments from citizens who would submit an online request. And sometimes their comment is not a for or against type of comment. They
Right.
just wanted to give some input. So we need to add some other options on our online system for just purely comments, or sometimes they're neutral and they want to say they're neutral.
Yeah,
So if we do a few tweaks on the online system, that would show the full comment. The comment is accessible for anyone to see, the commissioners and other citizens.
the full
and
comment, the
the
whole,
full
whatever was,
comment.
right.
Yes, yes.
Kim?
I was gonna say to Commissioner McGoy's point, wanting equal access to everybody, I agree with, but I think it's a lot different if I can write a comment at my leisure and have it read versus if I'm in person, I have to stay for 3 hours until that agenda item's called and then stand up and read it. So it is challenging to come in person, but it's also, I don't know. I just think that if we continue down the path we're on, we're never going to get through our city business because
Right.
people can but I want people to have an opportunity. I like what the city manager is proposing where
Right.
that it is public facing. I am curious if we would still allow the Zoom option though, because the Zoom option is the equivalent to the in-person option. If you want to stay until that item is called, just like instead of sitting in our chamber waiting for that item to be called to have your moment to speak, you're sitting on your computer to have that moment. I think that should still be allowed. I don't think you're going to
I
get
agree.
300 people waiting on Zoom for 3 hours to speak. But they can certainly write their comments in and have those part of the public record online.
Okay, so,
It is still allowed, Commissioner Stokes.
yeah, we do that.
The biggest thing is, and as much as I didn't want to extend the meeting last time or have Melissa have to do that, if we tell the public something, then we have to honor it. And
Right, and
I
if
did
we have
not
a
feel
policy,
comfortable at that time saying you submitted a comment with the expectation that it would be read at the meeting and we're just gonna change it
Right.
on the fly. So I think that, thank you for reminding us, Commissioner Diaz, this is really important for us to have a clear policy and everybody
Mhm.
knows exactly what to expect.
yeah, this was important. I had it on my list for this morning as well, so I'm glad Ronaldo brought it up. It is important, but I think if we do have a policy, and I like the hybrid, when I asked Melissa about the Gulfstream, all those comments that she had to read, let's just post them on so everybody can read everybody can read what everybody has to say. It doesn't have to be at that moment of the meeting. So I think if we have the Zoom option, if we have a clear policy that email it to all the commissioners and your comments and the city clerk, your comments will be posted online on the website somehow. Then everyone knows what to expect and not to expect to have it read out loud, but you're still being heard and everyone can see what you had to say. It makes a good record. How does that sound, guys? As an alternate?
I had, yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. It basically just comes down to we need consistency so that people know what to expect. And I'm always surprised that there aren't more people commenting on Zoom, to be honest. I felt like everyone's kind of used to Zoom, and I'm always a bit surprised that we don't have people commenting. But I mean, what if it was something as simple as like, the options are there. I agree. We have a great online option if we get those comments on, but what if it was something, because for most issues, there aren't going to be that many comments. So what if it was something as simple as like the first 20 online submitted comments will be read, guaranteed, and then if we get more than that, all the comments will be online and available for a time purpose,
That's a good alternative, because you're right. It's only the hot ticket items that we get 150 comments on. God
Right.
forbid it's. So yeah, I think that's a good idea.
That does seem like a reasonable compromise. We would need to make it very clear
Right.
on the portal and on whatever that is our policy, that early bird gets the worm, the first 20 get read, and beyond that, they go on the record, but
And
we
most
don't.
items don't have any, I mean, there's a lot, should we get this wastewater treatment, whatever. It's the more popular. I think that's a really good idea, Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Wait, can I get clarification? So I don't know if it is the early bird gets the worm. So were you saying if we have 20 or fewer comments, they will all get read? If we have more than 20, they all get posted online?
No, the first 20 get
The
read.
first 20 will
Or
get read,
Yeah.
and the remainder online?
Or
Yeah.
they all get posted online anyways, and if
Right.
people want them read in, the first 20 in order that they're received, because I'm pretty sure they are time stamped.
Yep.
That the first 20 will be read, and if there's anything beyond, we have to defer to the website. But the bottom line is just it has to be consistent, and every meeting is just
I
like
think that's a
this.
good idea, Ronaldo, because like I said, most of them, I mean, we all know most, there's a comment or two comments or none at all. So that's a great compromise. I think that's a good compromise.
Does the
Could we go
portal-
down to 15 though? Because even at the first 20, that's an hour that Melissa's got to read
That's
for.
right.
That's true.
I mean,
yeah.
That's
If we
true.
could cut it down to 15, I mean, I'm thinking of
Yeah.
time.
Time. Yeah, and Kim made a good point, that hour that we sat listening to Melissa, we could have got a lot of work done, honestly. which we
Yeah.
didn't.
But
Hey,
we
no.
have-
Melissa,
I have a question about the in lines with the consistency. So is it, if our meetings are Tuesday evenings, when does the portal open to start accepting public comment? Is it always the same time? Like when it opens and closes?
Melissa?
Yes, so Keith redid the portal so that you can submit comments for any meeting through the end of the year now.
Oh,
The only thing is that the agendas are posted 12 days before, so obviously you wouldn't know what's on a meeting in November or December. But it's never closed, it's always open, so people can submit anytime. I had already proactively spoken to Keith that for the 20th, all the comments should be posted on live on, so just so you know, when somebody submits a comment online, they get a copy, an emailed copy of the comment. I get an emailed copy of the comment, and they can indicate whether they want to read their own comment, in which case they'll get a Zoom link, or that I should read the comment. So I actually have sent an email to every municipality in the county to see what their policies are. And most of them, I haven't heard back from all 39 because the email just went out this morning. But so far, most of them say no, they don't read the comments. They make sure they send them to the commissioners because it comes to me. So I could certainly forward any public comment to you, or we just have all public comment live on the website. And like it was for the Gulfstream, if you go to the Gulfstream page on the left side, it has links to all the past comments. So what we could do is have a portal just for the public comment, a public comment page. And then on the left, it would have each meeting, and and all the comments for that meeting would be available. So you just click on that meeting and you can read all the comments.
I think it's good too, because then we have an idea if the public comments are coming in before the meeting. We also have a chance to see what people are saying about the issue. So I think that's a good. Okay, so why don't we, because we're at 9:30 now. Why don't we leave it up to our esteemed city manager and city clerk to sort of now, hammer it out and send us an email or get us up to date about it. I think we got some good ideas here.
What are we doing for the 20th though? Because we're in this weird limbo spot, like where people might already be sending in public comments.
Is there a
expecting them to
huge
spread.
controversial item on the agenda?
Well, there's the second reading of the panhandling ordinance. Well, Melissa, have you seen a lot of comments coming in yet for any of the
I
items?
haven't gotten any yet.
Okay, so I would just love if we could put
Yeah.
something on the page when they submit the comment, if we could update the policy or update what the expectation is. So if I go on the website and I'm getting ready to submit my comment, if there's something big enough for me to read that says this will be posted online, but may not be read during the meeting, or some way to communicate to the people as they're submitting their
Well, it's
comments.
just one meeting, Kim. I mean, it's one meeting. We're gonna have this thing nailed by the second. I think we'll have the policy in place.
One question of clarity. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Are we doing 15 or 20 comments?
I would vote for 10. Because again, that's a half an hour. They have 3 minutes.
So we need to clear how many, so we put that on
Right.
the
Right.
website that the
What
first.
say you all? What say you all?
I think that's a good point. 10 is a half
think-
an hour. So yeah.
Yeah, let's say 10. Can we agree on 10? Because everybody's gonna see everybody's
Agreed.
comment.
10 it
Okay.
is.
Okay.
All right,
And,
great.
Thank you.
and Carmen, you're saying it's probably not a big deal to update the website before, so, as soon as possible, so that we are communicating to everybody for this next meeting, what the expectations are.
We'll try to see, of course, it depends on our webmaster and the
Well,
people that update it, how
I actually might be able to do it. I do have editing rights. I
Oh,
can't
good.
update everything, but
I didn't realize that.
yeah, so, I update the calendar on, sometimes I publish the notices. I have edited various things, so I will see if I can edit it, this morning.
All right, good deal.
Great,
Thank
thank
you.
Great. So, thank you.
So do we have consensus, so I can update it that, if we get a large number of comments, just the first 10 will be read and the rest will be, but everything will be available on the website?
I don't think you have to say, just, flat out, the first 10 comments will be read. After that, it's online.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
they're all online either way.
Right, exactly.
But
Okay,
then
great.
let me ask you another question. So say
Sure.
we get 70 comments again, I read the first 10. Do you want me to say the following wrote in favor or against? No? Okay, good.
No, because
Then
we
I
will
have
have
to
the
come up with a
opportunity to,
list.
because we'll be able to look at the website and see what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Great,
But what
thank you.
about a tally?
Yeah,
How-
a tally might
Yeah.
be good.
How hard
Yeah.
is it to tally?
Yeah.
So,
That's fine.
Well, let me just say the last meeting, it took me quite a while. I mean, all I have to do, well, we created a list, like for the
Now
Gulf
it's
Stream.
necessary.
Shayla created a list and then we double checked it against the website. So
But
it
isn't
can
that,
be done.
this seems like this can be automated, that if we have buttons when and I believe you have to click the button that says for, against, I think we ought to add a maybe or neutral or something or
Oh,
others.
well, I think we're overthinking it, Chris. I mean,
no, I don't
man.
think so. I think for this first meeting, because I think for this meeting, we don't do the tally. I'm fine with that, but thinking long-term in the future, that is absolutely something that technology should handle. Like
Yeah.
we're clicking a button, it should be able to go into a
so
spreadsheet,
it would have to be set up.
tabulate itself,
But
and not to be hand count.
Yeah. There's no reason to do that manually. The
Right.
website can collect that and just simply send us the tally of yes, no's, and maybes.
Yeah, I
And
think
maybe not by
tallies are
the 20th.
important.
But I think if we can't integrate that technology, that feature by the 20th, then we
Right.
skip it. But I think long-term, we need to be asking our webmaster or whoever how to do that. It's too easy to do with technology these days to
Totally.
not
Yeah,
Well,
I
you
think
guys are more
tallies
tech savvy
important.
than me.
do it.
Okay, great. So let's move on. Sarah, let's go back to number 1.
So I was in attendance with the CRA's meeting yesterday, as was the mayor. I went as the CRA liaison to welcome the new board members, give them my insight into the pros and cons of the CRA, the things that have greatly benefited the city through the CRA. And as a elected official, I'm a little concerned that it appears that the newly elected board members aren't really sure on how they're supposed to vote and what laws they're supposed to try to uphold. So I would ask our city attorney to get with the CRA's attorney and make sure that they understand that they cannot put conditions on approvals, that they are not the planning and zoning board. They are not the historical preservation board. The CRA is a completely different entity. And I know that when we came on board as a newly elected, we don't get a job description, right? Get to navigate the waters and thank God we have League of Cities and we have training classes and we can do our research. I just want to make sure that because these are citizens that are giving us their time, their energy, and they're obviously wanting to be involved with the city, that the CRA attorney gives them the tools that they need to know how to make the decisions that they need to make.
Yeah.
I think it's essential, so that there's no blurred lines on what that board's job is and what it's to carry out.
And I think Joan probably, and the attorney probably realized that last night because that one issue about the thing. So I think I agree with you. What their powers are needs to be defined, but I trust Joan that she will have. Last night was a bit of an eye opener on a couple of things. So
yeah,
okay.
for the people who are listening to this who might not listen to the CRA meeting, it's just it's very important that we make sure that we give every elected, every board, every advisory board, we have new people on the HRPB board, make sure that they know, this is what your job is. Here's, the confines of what you have to look at. I think it's important with these advisory boards that we give our citizens the tools that they need to be as effective as they can. And that's really all I have right now. I had the roll meeting last night after the CRA meeting. It was a good turnout. And talked about the redistricting, told them we would keep them up to date. I know that everyone's very eager, and I'm glad that Carmen talked about that this morning. But yeah, that's just when we have these advisory boards, I think it's important that we educate the newly appointed persons what their job entails and where they can.
Okay. We're running short on time, so totally. Carmen and then Ronaldo.
No, Glenn had a comment.
I was just saying,
Oh.
yeah, we'll do that. We'll follow up with their attorney and with
Great, thanks. Ronaldo?
I think Commissioner Malega might have answered it, but I'm a little bit surprised that we don't do that already for all of the boards,
Well,
because they get ethics, they get sunshine, and I think they should totally get like a scope of the job type of training.
I think, yeah, and I think that probably that was let's bring it up.
Yeah.
With them. I think where's my Zoom? I just disappeared. Oh, there we go. I think that just might have been a gap, just a miscommunication or something. Okay, great. So let me see, Chris. Okay, quickly. I have a couple of things I want to bring up.
Okay.
So,
I just want to remind the commission that I continue to get communications from residents in the city on huge rental increases. And I want to remind also that it is not limited to low income. It can be very much middle income as well. I'm seeing rent increases of $500, $600, even more dollars per month being people getting sent. I would like to have support from the commission that we develop a letter, that the attorney develop a letter that can be sent by tenants to their attorneys if it looks like they're not getting the 60-day notice that we approved. So that simply a letter that's saying, hey, we want to draw it to your attention. We appreciate your notice of rental increase. However, it looks to us, we're not attorneys, but it looks to us like this might be in violation of the 60-day requirement. We draw your attention to ordinance, blah, blah, blah. Something to that effect that give tenants at least something to deal with their landlords if they're not giving proper 60-day notice. And
For
maybe
us to intervene, for us to write that letter, the city?
to have it as a generic letter that is available to tenants that explains that 60-day one, so that a tenant can send it to their landlords. Right now, we
Yeah,
have
let's,
that simply get a notice that says, "Hi, we're raising your rent by $500. If you don't like it, you can move out." And it's pretty intimidating. It's pretty life upsetting. And we have passed the 60-day requirement. I suspect there are lots of tenants that don't know that we have, and certainly lots of landlords that don't know that we have. So I think we should do an informational piece and make that available to tenants.
I mean, yeah, okay.
It gives them something.
Okay, I mean, of course, one of the, we passed that ordinance, and I think it's a wonderful ordinance that we passed. The question is, how do you enforce it? I mean, what's the right,
Well-
but that's not I mean, at this point, that's, I think it's a good idea. Send it out. And actually, it could be sent out when a rental license is renewed, and I don't know what the time frame is on those, that a letter goes out to the landlords that this is a new thing that you need to be aware of. Actually, that might be a
I think
more
that's
effective way to do it.
then.
Because then we know
But
they
I would-
got it.
So can we get some consensus while we're all here and able to talk about it, that some sort of letter that's informational that tenants can send to landlords if it looks like the 60-day is not being followed?
I think an informational letter say this is the law of the city. I don't know that we want to get involved in the tenant
Madam
landlord.
Mayor?
Yep.
Yes, you're going on the lines of what I wanted to suggest. What we can do is put an informational letter for citizens on the website stating that law. And if they wanted to print that out and use that to notify their landlord of the city law, they have that opportunity to do that if we post it on our website.
Want to go a step further and have in that notice
Yeah.
that the contact of legal aid, if you feel that your landlord is not complying, here's the contact for legal aid.
Right, perfect. Yeah. Okay, William? You're muted, William.
The business license renewal period begins in June. And so we could do that for next year, but I don't see why we couldn't add some kind of language to the rental license that's issued. There's a little bit of space that could be printed on there that states that you have to give 60-day notice to raise rents. And then we can, of course, put some kind of notice in the renewals that are going out for next year, which will be prepared in May and June of next year.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Thank
I have a couple of things I'd like to bring up. I also went to the CRA meeting last night. It was really good to see new, fresh faces there. Really, it was only one item on the agenda, and it was really exciting. The tiny little building at 16 South Dixie Highway, which used to be the Scandinavian Bakery, which has stood idle and sad and lonely for years and years. John Surdy and his family architectural firm has bought it, is revamping it. It's going to be a wonderful use for a small, odd building with very little parking. So I think that was an exciting moment in the city, because that's really one example of how these odd little buildings can be used. And I was very excited about it. It's been brought up, and I hate to even add to our load, but for years and years, Evening on the Avenues was an event that happened in the city. And I don't exactly know everything about it. Was my understanding it's mostly a volunteer thing. And I know Andy Amoroso was very, very, involved with it and did a lot of work on it, for which we are grateful. But it's been brought up a couple of times. And I'm wondering if we couldn't look at like once a month, not every other week, not, twice a month, because then it became like it's there. You don't go this week and go to next week. I would like to see if we can possibly, whether in the budget or however, do some research and how was it set up. I think the bands were paid, but nobody else was paid, is my understanding, to see if we couldn't. It was a real nice once a month, it was a real nice event down at the Cultural Plaza. People could walk around. There were vendors, there was beer, you could just listen to music. And it was very well attended. And at the end, it started to get thin because there were so many of them it was different. So I'd just like to bring up the possibility of looking into bringing back, like a once a month evening on the avenues. Ronaldo.
Totally agree with that, especially the cultural plaza. Probably, first shout out to there's a crew right now who's been cleaning it up and painting the pergola. I don't know what you'd call that, the overhang thing, and it looks really good. But yeah, that plaza, that property is just so beautiful with the banyan trees, and finding a good appropriate use for it would be phenomenal. And I think this might be a good segue to highlight that there is opportunities for, groups to do this kind of planning and work. For example, on J Street, there's a small group of people that I'm pretty close to that are putting together an event for J Street, and
Joyce,
Joyce and
Yeah.
Joyce, Liz Capozzi and all them. And good friends of mine, and they're doing good work, and it's exactly the kind of thing I think that we should encourage, so that Lauren and everyone aren't so
Yeah, and I mean,
overburdened
it's
with
heavily dependent on volunteers, and this is what I've said to people, like,
yeah,
my least favorite phrase since I was elected mayor was, the city should.
right.
Uh,
We should do a
and I'm
lot
like,
of things if we could.
we should do a lot of things,
Yeah.
right? But it would have to be a very dedicated, I mean, there was the neighborhood association had a little front porch every time. So I'd like to see us start to, now the season's sort of coming up that it's cooler weather. I would like to see what would be the next step? Sarah, Chris, Kim, what do you think?
I'm good. Hang on one second, ma'am. I'm good.
Okay, Chris, you good?
Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
I
Okay.
agree with the concern about the city should, and, do we have the manpower, people power to do that?
Well, that's the thing. It's right. It would involve obviously some city staff manpower, but I'm looking at the people and I say the citizens should. If you want this, you got to work for it. We'll help you, but we can't just do everything. So what I would like to maybe put out somehow to the public is, if you're interested, sign up and let's have a meeting, and who's gonna set up the tents, who's gonna make the arrangements for the, that kind of stuff. So I would just like to see it come back. I think it was a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people enjoyed it, and it brought people together and
Okay.
gets them outside. Yeah.
So Lauren, do you hear us? There you are, Lauren. Hate to do it to you, but do you have knowledge about how it worked in the past? Or we don't have to do this now, but I mean, if I have consensus to like meet with Lauren, talk to people and try to get it revived.
Madam Mayor?
Ma'am.
Yes, so I was gonna ask about, how is it set up, and I'll connect with Lauren and get understanding how it's set up, and then pretty much what I'm hearing is all gonna be driven by the citizenry. So we will have to put a call out to the community if they would like to
Exactly.
begin this again, then we will need a certain amount of commitment from the community.
That's it.
In that.
And if it doesn't
Okay.
work, it
I
doesn't
just want to
work.
make sure we're clear.
I think yeah, and I think it's really important to include in that conversation the affordability of our fees, or in many cases, the lack of affordability.
I don't even know. We don't even know what the fees, we don't even know what it was. So let's find out.
I can tell you it's significant, especially for the band shell for Bryant Park. It's significant.
We're only talking about evening on the avenues at the Cultural Plaza right now.
Right, but overall, if as I can tell you, as smaller nonprofits who might want to do these events, some of those fees can be really high.
Yeah, and paying people to be there to set it up is high. I mean, there's costs involved. So
for sure.
I mean, there's a homeless veterans thing coming up at Bryant Park soon, and I mean they went to the city and did it. So,
I would echo the concern that Ronaldo has raised, both for vendors and for simply people who want to do events. We need to look at those fees, because I've talked to a number of vendors and at various different events that we've done around the city. It seems like we should be aware of what they are and make sure that we're okay with where they're set, because
Well, it's part of the fee schedule that we approve as part of the budget, and it's the fee schedule that we just approved as part of the budget. And if you compare it to surrounding cities like
Once you-
Green Acres and Delray, we're a lot cheaper,
Mhm.
lot cheaper. And we're giving people a great experience with intercoastal access at Bryant Park. And I mean, we've got to put value in the city, you guys. I mean, if we
Exactly, I agree.
the city, everybody's just going to think that we're the cheap place to go. And you know, we've got to elevate our expectations of what we want from people who want to come here and make money off of our residents and
We're not a charity.
we are not a
And
charity.
labor costs.
I mean, you guys, there's, you know, I mean, we can't be the city that gives all and does all.
There's different things, whether it's a organization, like you say, Commissioner Malega, that wants to come and make money off our city. A for-profit organization, yes, there probably needs to be very reasonable fees that totally cover our costs. Nonprofit organizations or citizens that want to get together and do things, that we may want to be a little friendlier to them in terms of our fees.
Well, we are, but here's the thing about that is that, you know, we have to realize that we have to incur the cost of staff, cleanup, electric, water. You know, we have overhead and we're not.
We have to pay PBSO.
Yeah, we're not putting our burden, you know, on our residents by any stretch of the imagination, but we also have to factor in insurance cost. I mean, there's, you know, we have liabilities, and look at how many times we get sued for somebody tripping on a sidewalk. So, I mean, our internal auditor has done a great job with keeping us in line with our fee schedule and doing great comparisons. And I think that we are middle of the road. We're not high and we're not extremely low. And I think for nonprofits, I hear you, but I also know nonprofits have 6-figure paychecks to their CEOs. So, you know, you got to
let me
give and
just.
take.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So
Not every,
I'm
that's a
really
generalization. Calm down.
Mr.
calm
Diaz,
down.
calm down. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about there are nonprofits out there who claim they're nonprofit, but if you look at their yearly reports, their CEOs and the people who work for their company make a ton of money.
Even if they don't, even if they don't, even if they don't.
So that's not going to be the norm, especially in our area. And all I'm going to point out is that, I mean, essentially what I'm saying, I'm not saying do away with the fees for everyone, but there should be a process to consider that things, because on things like insurance, it's on the applicant to put the city as a certificate holder. I mean, there's significant costs involved. And if a small nonprofit wants to put out a free event, like a movie night or something, and it costs, you know, well over $1,000 to do it, it's going to prevent them from having the event. And so there should be.
It for the children does events in this city all the time.
All the time.
I mean, she
Right,
uses
but
the
for
casino
the
ballroom, she
children
uses
has
the park.
Not everyone has that kind of budget. All I'm saying is, if we had a process to look at that, not every nonprofit has multi-million-dollar budgets. I mean, you know,
but there's also alternative places that I don't know. I mean, this is kind of a big, it's now, you know, we're really, that kind of opened up a whole different event.
It's something that
I started out with Evening on the Avenues, Ronaldo.
Right.
You're killing me.
But it's something to talk about with Lauren and whatnot. That's all I'm saying. It's a conversation to have, because, you know, we want to encourage appropriate use of these properties. You know, people complain about the houseless community and whatnot in a park, and I think a big issue is because if we're not using those properties in a good way, I mean, that's where those issues are going to be arise. So we should encourage use, and we should have, you know, avenues available for people to do that, and we should look at each one. Because there's a lot of good ideas out there, and we should definitely encourage it. And also, I think something to think about is maybe not for Cultural Plaza because of space, but, you know, it might also be time to talk about food trucks and when and where we can allow them and things like that, because we totally agree. Evenings on the avenue, more events. You know, the more that we can let other groups plan that and do that work for us, it's just going to benefit everyone.
Okay. Okay. So let's go back to what I started. And it was I don't know, forget the word.
Evening on the Avenue. Love
thank
it.
you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, those are, you had your chance early in the meeting to bring this up. So no, let's focus on the eating avenues. We can always look at the other thing, but I mean, I have to agree with Sarah on something. I'm not unsympathetic to nonprofit groups, but it costs a lot to maintain that park. And I got to tell you, that park is suffering right now. My nephew walks his dog in Bryant Park every morning, and as he watches somebody shit on the seawall, or have the detritus of the food wrappers and food all over the place. Our parks are sacred, and I think that we need to pay respect. I think we need to respect them, and I think probably the cost of running the park is something that we can't just ignore. So okay.
But I would like to speak up. I hear a lot of what all the terrible things that are happening in Bryant Park. I go regularly to Bryant Park for yoga classes, outdoor yoga classes, and I don't see needles. I don't see people crapping. I don't see stuff.
So you're saying are you saying my nephew doesn't see that?
No, I'm saying that it's perhaps a distortion to say that I don't see any of that when I go. And I do go with quite a bit of regularity. So yes, I'm sure there are places where bad things happen. I'm also very sure that there's a bunch of the park that works just fine and is very usable and is a great place to be. And I see lots of people using it quite happily. So I'm a little concerned that there's this, oh my gosh, there's all these terrible things. Are there some
I don't think
problems?
somebody has to pick up
I can send you more pictures if you'd like.
Yeah. All right, let's it's not
So I maintain those living shoreline planters with my volunteers very regularly, and I do agree, like the messaging that those kinds of problems are going to happen in any urban area in a country on the planet. But I definitely agree with Commissioner McVoy that the benefits, especially in Bryant Park, way outweigh the negatives. During the day,
the benefit of
yeah.
having a park is having a passive, clean, enjoyable park. When I hear from a father that he goes
what
down
I'm
there,
getting at is, during the day, there are loads of people who use it, running,
Right.
dog walkers. The playground itself has like 100 kids on it, no matter what time of day. So when it comes to messaging and how we describe our parks, it's a gem. It's not. Yes, it's gonna have the problems that any city is gonna have. If you want to see people defecating publicly, go to a New York subway station. Like
we're not New York,
right? And so it's not nearly that bad. But those problems do exist, and we need to work on them. And that's kind of what I was getting at in terms of Horticultural Plaza and other similar properties. If we find appropriate use, the more appropriate use that is being done, the more those issues get pushed away.
Okay. Okay, so we're coming up, we have 1 minute. Anything from staff in the last, you have a minute. Anything from staff you want to say? Carmen, you're our
I do. As you know, this Saturday is the Lake Worth High celebration, and I wanted to know if any of you plan on attending
I am.
Yeah.
the dinner. So Vice Mayor, you do? You
Yes.
plan on?
Yeah.
Anyone else? Commissioner
I
Diaz?
will be at League of Cities municipal election training. I will not be able to attend.
I can't
Commissioner
make that
Diaz?
League of Cities thing.
I'm not sure. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay, and Commissioner Stowe, oh, she's gone. Oh, no, she's here.
I'm
Commissioner,
in and out, but yes, I plan on attending this is at the casino. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Dinner.
The dinner. Is that the whole evening is part of the dinner?
yeah,
The whole
I think it
hour?
starts at 6 o'clock.
Yes.
I'm making a very brief statement. Very brief. The band is going to be there.
All right.
Yeah, they have a
Okay.
half-hour program that they're going to do.
okay, and I will get back with those who plan on going and get more information from you.
Great,
I
thank
can
you.
make that. So you can count me.
Okay.
Okay, great. Anything
One
else, Carmen?
question.
Glenn?
Mr.
Yeah,
Glenn?
One question.
Mr. Glenn?
I'm getting more and more emails.
Can't hear you.
I'm receiving more and more emails from citizens asking various questions. And I just want to let you know, my general response is I'm not authorized to respond. Legal question, you have to consult your own attorney. If it's something very simple, I'm not going to be rude, but
Right.
is that, just want to make sure you're all okay with that, because
What are the questions in regards to?
a variety of things, when the Gulf Stream was the issue, it's the Gulf Stream, panhandling is the
Almost
issue,
done.
it's
We're
panhandling.
almost done.
There's various questions citizens ask, sometimes interpreting, is there an ordinance on this? Is there an ordinance on that? And so I'm always awkward. I don't want to be disrespectful to citizens, but I'm your attorney. I'm not the community's attorney.
And we pay you for every
Exactly.
minute that you spend. So frankly, I think that, if it's about, is there an ordinance about building,
If it's something simple, I do a courtesy and I do that. I don't charge the city, but if
We
it gets a little
appreciate
more
that.
detailed, then
No.
I try to simply say, I'm not authorized to provide you with legal advice.
ask your commissioner, ask your commissioner,
Okay.
ask
All
the
right. So
mayor.
to make sure you all are aware of that, in case somebody calls you back and says, oh, the lawyer won't respond to me. So,
Right. Well, we're like, we're glad to hear that. Yeah, I agree. You're not even our lawyer. You're the city attorney.
all right. But I hear that. And in a way, I get it that in a sense, I'm the community attorney. I get that concept, but I can't respond to 40,000 citizens.
No.
Are they
All right.
are they asking you like for basically legal advice? Are they saying like I'm in this situation with the
It depends. It just depends on the citizen. So again, I always try to do some kind of response. I don't want to be discourteous, but I'm noticing a bit of an uptick in that, just like you're noticing an uptick in public comments on some of these issues. But that's all. I just wanted to, information and make sure you're all
So
aware
sorry.
of that.
The physical therapist is here, so my dog's going crazy. No, I agree with you, Glenn. Everybody else, we agree that he's not the public lawyer.
All right. Thanks. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, we're at 10:03. Sometimes I think these meetings should go a little longer, but I think it's good that we do have a time frame, a time commitment. But, thanks, everybody. See you Tuesday at City Commission and Saturday at the dinner.
Yep.
Great.